switch sides.
Okay.
Okay, that's much better. Oh my god, here comes the dog. Oh my god.
Probably can.
I'm ready.
Okay.
You ready, Hugo?
Ready, Hugo?
You ready, Max? We're gonna do our video now.
Video time.
This is gonna kill my battery every single time because I sit here for 30 minutes and think about how I'm gonna start. Then my battery will be dead.
Yeah, probably.
And
Well, once you have it where you know it's not going to move, I think you could just shut the thing to make it last longer.
shut what?
The
Close
viewfinder.
up.
It's focusing on me.
I wonder how long the battery lasts, actually. That'd be a good thing to know.
I have no idea. You know what would be good is to have 2 batteries.
That would be a great idea. Can you buy a battery?
Yeah.
Like just a random battery?
Sure you can.
He was that hair was off his nose. Like he'd been in a street fight.
You been in a street fight?
Okay.
Let me compare it.
I'm ready to talk now.
Okay, I've had it. No
Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing another Bible study video, but today's Sunday night, so I'm a little behind. I was supposed to have this video up on Friday, but I was unable to attend class last Wednesday, and that's beginning to be no surprise. And because I was working, I started my new job, so I was working last week and I didn't get to go to Bible study class. But I did get with my friend and we went over the lesson, so I've got all of my right answers and I've done my studying and I'm ready to go with my video, except we're a little bit late. And I'm not going to be able to go to Bible study class this Wednesday either, so I might be late with this week's video as well, depending on when I can get together with my friend and discuss our Bible lesson. But they will still keep coming. And I wanted to, well, for those of you who don't know, I have some new viewers. And I don't know who all knows or doesn't know, but this is my husband, Anthony. Hello. And he is going to be joining us today because I am filming with a new camera and I wanted to film this video together so we can both share the experience of using the camera for the first time together. That's why, I don't know if I told you that. So he's going to be here hanging out, but I don't know how much he's going to participate. And I did purchase a new camera for videos. Might as well just tell you. And I'm really excited about it. This will be the first video that I'll record with it. So I have seen a little bit of, recorded like a little bit of a video last night and watched some playback on the computer and we've taken pictures with it, but this will be one of my first videos to put on YouTube with it. And I really am excited to get started doing makeup videos with it to test it out to see how well that picks up. But this is a pretty good camera from what I hear, so I'm really excited to continue to use it. And I have 2 pre-recorded videos that are going up this week on Monday and Thursday. Since they were pre-recorded, they were not recorded with this camera, they were recorded with my old camera. And this will be the first video going up on YouTube that's recorded with this camera. And after this week, the videos that go up will be recorded with this camera. So, next week. So, in this video, we are here to discuss Bible study. It's going to take me a minute to get back on track here because I never look at this before I sit down to film. But we are on lesson 23, and I need to do a refreshers because that really worked last time. But I did not write down my outline, and I've been trying to remember to do that, but I haven't done it. So, and I'm probably going to say it wrong. I probably said it correctly in my last videos, and now I'm probably going to say it wrong. So, you might want to go back and double check. But, the first things that we discussed were, okay, so you have the opening of the 7 seals on the scroll. We've opened up all 6. During the opening of the 7th seal, you have the trumpet sounds, the 7 trumpets, and we've gone through all of those. Okay, so there were 7 trumpet sounds, and then we had a scene in heaven, or not in heaven, but we had a scene where the dragon, which represented Satan, turned on Israel and began to attack Christians and Jews. And that was where we left off in lesson 22. And now we are beginning lesson 23. 23 covers Revelation chapter 13. And one of the things that we learned was that a new beast is going to rise up out of the sea. It is believed that the sea will be the Mediterranean Sea. Okay, so you have the beast. You have Satan, which was the dragon that we studied in the last lesson. And then in this lesson we learn of two more beasts. One that comes from the sea and one, I believe, that comes from the land. And the reason that there are three is because it is supposed to represent God, like you have God, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. So you would have Satan, his son, and his spirit. Okay, so the second beast that comes up out of the land is supposed to represent the spirit because it is going to be the one that kind of gets everyone like riled up to the first beast and gets everyone to pay attention to it. It says he breathed breath into the image so that it could speak, or so that it could speak and kill. There was an image made in honor of the beast, meaning the first beast. And there was a mark on the hand or forehead so that they could buy and sell. So this is where the number 666 comes into play. And after we studied the two beasts, which represent Satan, we in chapter 13 it also mentions the number 666, which is the marking of the beast. And I've said before that that was the part that I was most interested in getting to because you hear lots of rumors about the number 666, but until you really study it, you don't really know what to believe. So there is a verse that I'm probably going to read because I want to make sure that you understand it very clearly. Okay, I'm going to read Revelation 13 verses 16 through 18 because it sort of covers the number throughout all three of those verses. So starting in verse 16 it says, "It also forced all people, great and small, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hands or on their foreheads, so that they could not buy or sell unless they had the mark, which is the name of the beast or the number of its name. This calls for wisdom. Let the person who has insight calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man. That number is 666. So that tells you where the number is going to be, what the number is going to be for, and then of course what the number is. So that's pretty much all the information that you need to know surrounding the number 666, and so that you can know to look for it when the time comes. And in a previous study we learned the meaning of the numbers that are used throughout the Bible, and one of those numbers was the number 6, and the number 6 was said to represent man because number 7 represents God and perfection. So number 6 would be the next level below that, which would be man, and that is why 6 represents man. Did I say that right? Okay, so I can't remember how it's worded, but that's part of the reason why you have 666 represents the devil, because he's an angel, but he's kind of like man.
He's still below God.
Yeah. And then, but the 6 is tripled because of his evil or something like that. I can't remember how it's worded. I think it might be in the notes. So that's the information that you need to know about the number 666. And some of the questions that we were asked were, let's see. Do we have any technology currently trending that could make any of these actions possible today? Meaning the marking of the number 666. And then what images are currently available worldwide? What numbers are necessary right now to buy or sell? Have you or your friends or family ever had a time when a problem with such numbers kept you from buying or selling? And then has the use of images or numbers made your life better in some ways? So when this comes about, the whole marking of the 666, it's going to be something that is convenient and believed to be good for society or good for people, and that's going to be what draws you to it. But we as Christians are supposed to be wise enough to know not to accept the marking of the beast, and so I have to take breaths.
Most people do.
So to answer some of those questions in our Bible study, we have, I've heard of course we have microchips. We know that, and we know that microchips can be inserted into body parts and used for GPS tracking and identification and things like that. I heard a recent news story about, I can't remember what country it was, but there was a country that was having microchips inserted into their hands, more like for the purposes of identification for an employee. Like when you have a scan card that you scan to get into a building, they had microchips inserted into their hands where they could just hold their hand up, and it made it convenient and easy for them. That's not something that's worldwide or that's forced on anybody, so I'm not sure if that really counts as the marking of that doesn't really count as the marking of the 666 anyway, because we haven't even gotten to any of this stuff yet. But you can see that the technology is available, and we're a lot closer to that point than we were 100 or 500 years ago. And another thing, as far as numbers go, is that pretty much everything is numbered. So when you go into a grocery store, all of your items have barcodes on them so that they're numbered and tracked. We bank with credit and debit cards now, so those are tracked by numbers. And of course, all of these things make buying and selling easier and more convenient. So the point of that was to suggest that our technology is headed that way. So we're not without the technology for this to come true, which means we are getting closer and closer. So that is all I have for you today. That was pretty much our entire lesson, was the study of the two beasts. That one comes from the land, one comes from the earth. That, along with the dragon or Satan, is said to represent the unholy trinity, or like Satan's trinity, or however you want to word it. And then we came across the number 666 and talked about that. And that was all found in Revelation chapter 13. So you should go back and read your chapter so that you can study it for yourself and see what you can find in there. And then we'll get started with the reading part. And I do want to tell you that this reading portion is going to be longer than the last 3 lessons that we did. I put all those videos up last week. This reading portion is going to be 1 full page on this side, and then these 2 middle pages, and something's falling out of my book over there, and then these 2 short columns right here. And I don't really want to, but but I am going to read all of that for those of you who might be interested in listening. I've got to find a better way to present that, because being read to is not very fun, but I would rather read it than type it up, and I don't have another way to show it to you unless I read it to you. So we're going to get to that in a minute. Would you like to discuss our lesson today?
Sure.
Do you have anything to say about it?
No.
Do you have any insights or perspectives?
No.
That's why I said you wouldn't participate.
Alright.
So we'll say goodbye then.
Bye.
Not like that. You know what? You're such a fun person to be around until we sit down on camera together, and then you get boring.
Well,
People think that you're boring.
well, it's an imaginary crowd to me. I don't have a great imagination. If they're here, I'd conversate a lot more.
You're supposed to conversate to me. It's supposed to be like a conversation between me and you, and it's just entertaining to everyone else. Okay, so this is my new camera, and
Which is a Canon T6i, though.
Yeah, I didn't tell you that part.
Surprise!
But it is the Canon Rebel T6i. Is that right? Yeah.
Yes.
And it's new. The last I heard, they only had T5i until we went to look at one yesterday, and they had T6. So we got that one because I think they were discontinuing the T5 from Best Buy because I don't think they had any more in stock. They only had one that was
open.
Clearance, yeah. Because it was a display, and it came with nothing. Anyways, that's not the point.
For the open box one.
Yeah, that's not the point. The point is, it is a Canon Rebel T6i, and I love it. And from the viewfinder, it looks really good, and it looks a lot better and a lot more detailed than the Sony that I had, which is the camera that I have been filming on. And the difference that I'm hoping it'll make is that when I film with the Sony, everything like all across the screen is just kind of cloudy. And then I've noticed that people who film, I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos from people who film with Canon Rebels, and theirs are nice and crystal clear, and it's like you're sitting in the same room with them and watching them from like right there. So I'm hoping that will clear all of that up on my videos and that you'll see everything in full detail. That would probably be a bad thing sometimes, you know, if I choose to wear no makeup or something. But hopefully overall it will be a nice change, and I am very, very happy with it. Anthony's excited about it because now he wants to start doing photography. So it'll get some good use, and this is the first video that I filmed with it. So I'm excited to see it played back. I'm excited to put it up on YouTube, and you let me know if you've noticed the changes or if you enjoyed this clarity better, or whatever your comments are. And that's all. And then of course I might mention it again in my first beauty beauty video that I filmed, because some people who watch the beauty videos may not watch these videos. So I guess that's all.
Alright.
Do you have anything you want to say? We should do some husband-wife videos. There's something called the couples 1, 2, 3 tag, and I don't like the way it's presented, but basically you ask a question, like I would ask a question for you, and then we say 1, 2, 3, and we give our answer. Like you would give your answer, and I would give the answer that I would guess you would give.
Well, if it's not enough time?
I know. No, you don't. You get your answer together first, then you say 1, 2, 3, and then you say it. But I don't like the layout of it. I would change the layout.
It's like
I would probably pre-plan our questions and our answers.
Yeah.
And then just sit down with the video and say 1, 2, 3. Or like hold it up or something. I don't know. I thought the videos that I watched were kind of boring.
Like a newlywed game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you have the husband tag.
That's
And then you
so
have
cool.
husband does my makeup and do the husband's makeup.
Husband getting no makeup done. Alright.
Okay, well, I'm going to wrap this video up because I am supposed to be in bed in 20 minutes, and I've still got to do this reading, and it's probably going to take 20 minutes. So, we're going to say goodbye, and I'll get to my reading portion, and he's going to leave. He's not going to sit here while I read. So, thanks. We appreciate having you here with us, dear. We've enjoyed your company.
Well, I'm glad.
And
I didn't participate much, but
I'm glad to
maybe another video.
have him appear in some videos. And I guess that's all for now. So thanks for watching this video. They will probably no longer be on time, and this series will end after the month of April because that will be when the classes finish, but they will still be going up at some point. So thanks for watching, and thanks for having patience, and I enjoy everyone's interaction in the comments, so please leave comments. Or people who have been leaving comments on these videos, I've been enjoying the interaction, so please continue to leave comments. I enjoy it. Anyways, that's all I have to say, so I will talk to all of you later. Bye.
Subscribe.
Okay, we're going to get started with the reading portion. I apologize for the length of the reading, and I apologize for the boringness of the being read to, but I really have no other way to present this information to you, and I do believe it is very important. I personally did not get as much from the reading material this time around as I normally do, and I did have to do it in 2 separate parts because I got bored reading it and I had to stop and put it away for a while and get back to it. And then I got to where I was on the back page and I kept reading the same thing over and over again, and I was not in tune with it, so I had to put it away and start it again later. So I had a hard time keeping up with it and reading it, and I think that's just because I didn't have as much interest in these particular notes as I usually do. But I'm going to put you through the same thing, and you're going to listen to it as well. So hopefully you can learn something, and hopefully at the very least you can at least have this video on in the background and then maybe get busy doing something else so that you can listen to it without having to like sit still and stare at a screen, because I find that I would concentrate on it better if I were listening to it in the background and then focused on like cleaning or doing something else that's kind of like not so something you don't have to focus on. So give that a try if you're finding these too boring but you want to listen. But let's get started because this video is going to be long if I don't stop talking. So we have 7 personalities. In the section of Revelation beginning with chapter 12, We have begun to study the 7 personalities of Revelation who are important in working out the prophecies of... My camera just died, or not the camera, the SD card ran out of space, so I had to delete some stuff. So I had to take a pause, and now I'm back. In the section of Revelation, beginning with chapter 12, we have begun to study the 7 personalities of Revelation who are so important in working out the prophecies of the last days. So far, there have been the sun-clothed woman, Israel, the fiery dragon, Satan, the woman's child, Jesus, and the warrior angel, Michael. In this current lesson, 2 more have been introduced, the beast from the sea and the beast from the land. Along with Satan, these 2 make up the unholy trinity. Satan is the father figure, the beast from the sea is the son figure, and the beast from the land fills the position of the unholy spirit. And before my camera cut off, I was getting into saying that that is something that I forgot to mention during the lesson portion of the video, was that Satan, the dragon, represented the father figure. Like I said, all 3 represented the unholy trinity. And then the figure, the beast from the sea, was the one that represented the sun. And I did mention that the beast from the land represented the unholy spirit, but I forgot to mention what the other 2 represented. So now that is clarified in these notes. The beast from the sea will even have an apparent death and resurrection, imitating Jesus. All the while, the beast from the land, paralleling the work of the Holy Spirit and drawing people to Christ, will be totally devoted to bringing the world to the place of worshiping the sun figure or the beast from the sea. Okay, and then we move into the beast from the sea, Revelation 13, chapter 13, verses 1 through 7. The I, in the opening of the verse, and then in quotes it says, I stood and saw, is translated from the original manuscripts as he stood, changing the scene to show Satan, who was mentioned in the last chapter, as standing and watching the emergence of a beast from the sea. This really is not a big point. Forgive my voice. This really is not a big point because the emphasis is on the rising beast, not the one who watched. The sea, from John's point of view, as the receiver of these visions and recorder of the same, was most likely the Mediterranean Sea. In Revelation 17:15, sea or many waters is given the meaning of the tumultuous gathering of many different kinds of people, differing in nationality, language, and religion. The beast seems to represent the differing groups around the Mediterranean Sea, which had their national development as members of the old Roman Empire. We do not have to guess about most of the imagery here. Elsewhere in the Bible, it has been used and explained before. For example, when beasts appeared in Daniel's vision of chapter 7 of that book, they were interpreted as kings that rise up, Daniel 7:17. The 10 horns of Daniel 7 were also identified as kings who will arise from the last earthly kingdom, Daniel 7:24. Crowns emphasize the privilege, power, or popularity of the one wearing them. With this information, let us examine the description of the beast rising from the sea. 10 horns. Number 1, 10 horns. These are probably the same as the 10 kings who band together to form the last earthly world power that Daniel saw in Daniel 7. This confederation of kings and their nations or governments evidently put their resources at the disposal of the beast or king who comes to the attention of the world. In Daniel, we are told that 3 of these will fall when the beast rises to power. Later in Revelation 17, when the harlot Babylon rides the beast, the 10 horns are explained as being, and then in quotations, then it quotes Revelation 17:12 through 14. 10 kings who have received no kingdom as yet, but they receive authority for 1 hour as kings with the beast. These are of one mind, and they will give their power and authority to the beast. These will make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb will overcome them. Number 2, 7 heads. From the study of the meaning of Bible numbers earlier, 7 was the divine number of completion, fullness, or perfection. So here, the 7 heads could represent the fact that the beast from the sea will have power 7 years, or perhaps that the power that he will have will be full or complete for the purpose for which he wants to use it. He is completely evil. Again, in Revelation 17:9 and 10, where the harlot Babylon rides this beast, the 7 heads are explained this way. And then in the quotations, the 7 heads are, well, let's see. It's not in quotations, but in italics it says, the 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sits. There are also 7 kings. 5 have fallen, 1 is, and the other has yet to come. and when he comes, he must continue a short time. This seems to indicate that the beast will follow a series of 7 kings. At that time of John's vision of this, only 6 were known. The identity of these kings cannot be made real with certainty, or cannot be made with real certainty. Some think they were the last 7 emperors of Rome, with the beast being the last and final one. Now we are beginning all of this. Please bear with me. Number 3, 10 crowns. This is the only place in which the beast differs from the description of Satan in Revelation 12:3. Satan is said to have 7 crowns on his 7 heads. The beast has 10 crowns on his 10 horns. While there is still a strong family resemblance in these 2 images, like father, like son, this difference is interesting and cannot be explained with complete certainty. If, as noted earlier, crowns emphasize privilege, power, or popularity, Satan is emphasized as having these in a most powerful way for only 7 years, since his crowns are on the 7 heads. On the other hand, the beast has privilege, power, and or popularity, or crowns, in direct relationship to his connection with the 10 kings, the horns, out of which he rises to power. At the very simplest level, the crowns of both Satan and the beast from the sea show that they are recognized by others as being persons of authority, popularity, and power. Even in our culture, a crown is worn to show distinction or privilege. Number 4, leopard, bear, and lion. These 3 should remind us of Daniel's vision from God's perspective of the beastly character of the 3 of the 4 last world powers. The lion was Babylon, the bear was Medo-Persia, and the leopard was Greece. The 4th beast Daniel saw was so fierce that it really defied description. I can't read tonight. Jesus sees the fierce and godless characters of the previous world powers quite present in the final world power represented by the Antichrist or the beast from the sea. And I'm going to give you a reference to better understand the whole leopard, bear, and lion example. Okay, I apologize. I don't have a specific chapter because it's not referenced in our lesson, and it would take me quite a while to sit here and look it up. But to get better clarification on that imagery and that vision, it is mentioned in the book of Daniel. So just go back and read the book of Daniel if you want to look further into that. Number 5, as if it had been mortally wounded. True to his role as the one who tries to take the place of Jesus Christ, the first beast or Antichrist will appear to have been killed and then resurrected. Some think that this occurs around the midpoint of the tribulation and that Satan actually enters into him at this time, causing the appearance of a resurrection. Whatever the real nature of this event, it makes the beast even more famous and popular. So remember that the midpoint of the tribulation was in between, exactly in the middle of the 7 years. So you had a series of events to happen within the first 3.5, then you have like a midpoint, and then you have a series of events that is to take place within the last 3.5 years, and that is the midpoint that it refers to. Number 6, as he was given a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies against God, his name, his tabernacle, and those who dwell in heaven. Whether the mouth he was given was his own or a reference to the second beast from the land, who, like a false prophet, causes people to worship the first beast, is not absolutely clear here. A precedent, I think I'm saying that right, for this interpretation comes from the time when Moses thought he could not speak, and so God gave him Aaron, his older brother, to be his mouth for a time, Exodus 4:16. Anyway, once the Antichrist has the world worshiping him, he spends great energy trying to wipe out the truth about the real God of the universe. He even speaks false and evil things about the saints in heaven, perhaps saying that the rapture was really his own divine judgment on his enemies, or that these being martyred deserved it because they were traitors to his one world government efforts. His mouth would be freed to carry on its propaganda campaign for 42 months, which, not surprisingly, is also the now familiar period of 3.5 years. That would be the last half of the tribulation, when the peace covenant with Israel has been broken, the 2 witnesses are called to heaven, Israel has fled to the wilderness under God's protection, and all-out war has been declared on all surviving Christians. Okay, word of warning, Revelation 13, 8 through 10. The last half of the tribulation period will be so horrible that the influence and activities of Satan and his beast and the influence and activities of Satan and his beast so powerful that unless a person has secure position with God by true faith in the blood of Jesus, which allows his name to be written on the Lamb's book, he will not be able to resist the evil powers around him. John repeats a phrase that Christ had used in the letter to the 7 churches. If anyone has an ear, let him hear. The people who have come to saving faith during the tribulation are warned to watch what they do at that time. And it says in quotations, "He who leads into captivity shall go into captivity. He who kills with the sword must be killed with the sword." This seems to mean that Christians should not adopt the same methods as the enemy. Evil response will only bring back evil on them. Their role is to have faith in God and remain patient as he watches over his son. Okay. Now we are right here getting ready to go to the side of the page. The beast from the earth, Revelation 13, 11 through 13. The third member of the unholy trinity is introduced here, another beast coming up out of the earth. The word another means another of the same kind, so there is a similarity in character, purpose, and source of power in these two beasts. The second one acts in the role of a public relations person and a sort of evil cheerleader to draw on the world's attention, allegiance, and adoration to the first beast. He has 2 horns like a lamb, but will speak like a dragon. The second beast will seem to be less powerful than the first, but his source of power is the same, Satan. This false prophet, as he is often described, will have the ability to perform signs and wonders, even the ability to make fire come down from heaven on earth in the sight of men. Whether this is similar to what the 2 prophets do in Revelation 11, so that he mocks them, or whether it refers to some military response to rebellion, the fire being bombs or such, is not quite clear. He will seem to be so clever and gifted that he deceives the whole earth with his supernatural signs. Is this something new, evil people having supernatural power? No, evidently not. Read this warning from God to his people way back in Deuteronomy. So then it quotes Deuteronomy 13 verses 1 through 3, and that says, "If there arises among you a prophet or a dreamer of dreams, and he gives you a sign or a wonder, and the sign or wonder comes to pass, of which he spoke to you, saying, Let us go after other gods, which you have not known, and let us serve them, you shall not listen to the words of that prophet or that dreamer of dreams, for the Lord your God is testing you to know whether you love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul." Also remember that the magicians of Pharaoh duplicated to some extent the miracles of Moses, and that in the New Testament, Simon the sorcerer had powers to impress those around him, Acts 8:9. This is why Jesus cautioned his followers many times about the dangers of demanding signs and wonders. We live by faith, not by sight or sign, and the miraculous can be imitated, duplicated, or otherwise used to deceive us. That little bit of a passage is what really spoke to me for a moment, because the first thought that came to my mind was the fact that Jesus tells us, or God tells us, not to listen to like sorcerers and psychics and all that stuff, and how you're supposed to stay away from that. And then of course I have never imagined that evil in the world actually has supernatural power. I have always believed that only God had any power, and that anything else that seemed powerful in this world was just an illusion. But this has confirmed for me that the evil in the world does have a type of supernatural power, and I personally believe that that comes from Satan. So that's pretty scary. So if you believe in God, and you believe that, and you believe what this is saying, that evil has a supernatural power and that that power would come from Satan, and you choose to go to a psychic or a tarot card reader or something like that, whatever we have in our day and age that would be considered a supernatural power, and say she were to predict things that were to come true for you, just because they come true doesn't mean that she was lucky and guessed correctly. it could mean that she could actually have a supernatural power coming from the worst of all sources, and that alone is scary enough for me to stay away from all of that. So even though I've never gone to do anything like that, but I have questioned it before as far as like how serious it was to like not go there. But that little passage has confirmed for me that I don't want anything to do with Satan's power. He can have it. So I thought that was interesting and wanted to share that with you. I want to scoot my table closer to me. I have a little TV stand right here, so you're going to see my straw and the top of my cup, but we're going to look past that and I'm going to continue to read. The second beast's influence on religion, Revelation 13, 14, and 15. Chapter 13, verses 14 and 15. Appealing to the yearning in every person for some kind of religion, preferably a kind that does not make too many demands on him, the second beast will offers to satisfy that desire. This beast will order the making of an image to the beast who was wounded by the sword and lived. In Daniel's time, such an image of Nebuchadnezzar was 90 feet high, all of gold, and placed in a public place where worship was demanded at specific times. Daniel chapter 3. In our day, such an image would probably be made through the use of television, computer, or other technology that could be beamed by satellite to any other point on the globe. Whatever its composition, the image of the first beast will at least appear to come alive with breath and voice, and any refusing to worship it will be executed. Scary to think about, but when you consider being in heaven with God or being on earth with that, death sounds like a better alternative. The second beast's influence on the economy, Revelation 13, verses 16 through 18. Another way in which worldwide dominance will be exercised by the Antichrist is through the control of the world's economy. His prophet will introduce and enforce an innovative economic plan, probably at first offered as a great convenience and money saver for those wanting a cashless society. A system of identification to be used by each person in buying or selling transactions will be introduced. This will involve not a plastic card as we have right now in so many instances, but a marking on the actual body of each person. Specifically, the forehead or right hand will be somehow marked with the number of this one world government and its leader, 666. The number 6 is called here the number of a man, one less than God's number 7. And tripled, it seems to be the identification of that unholy trinity of Satan, Antichrist, and false prophet. The choice of forehead and right hand are logical ones for marking. This could be easily exposed, even in the coldest weather, for use in making a transaction. Implanted computer identification chips are already being used to trace or find items like vehicles, merchandise, or endangered species of animals. These are already being suggested as a means of protection and identification of pets or children. And we're now on this back page. A marking on the body would be readily available for use, could not be lost or stolen, and would allow no excuse for lack of identification. It will make sense to a world ever on the lookout for greater efficiency and security. However, Christians are being warned here. Taking the mark of the beast will clearly be a refusal to acknowledge Christ. And it quotes Revelation 14, verses 9 and 10. If anyone worships the beast in his image and receives his mark on his forehead or on his hand, he himself shall also drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out full strength into the cup of his imagination, into the cup of his indignation. Wise as serpents, harmless as doves. God does not want his children ignorant about the very sneaky and dangerous ways of our spiritual enemies, Satan and his companions. While we are called to work in the light of godliness, not stooping to use Satan's tactics to defend our own interests, we can with great security trust God to protect us now and take us home to be with him in the future. The word beast used to describe the first and second man of world influence describes their character. In God's view, they are beasts, devoid of all goodness, morality, truth, or mercy. However, to the world that has refused to believe in Jesus, these beasts will appear beautiful, wise, charming, and good. Remember the two versions of the same world powers given first to Nebuchadnezzar and then to Daniel in our study of Daniel 2 and 7. Nebuchadnezzar's, you can look back on chapters 2 and 7 for reference to that. Nebuchadnezzar's view of the world powers was the image of a strong man made of dazzling precious and semi-precious metals. Daniel's vision of the same world order from a godly viewpoint was a series of abnormal beasts with multi-heads and fierce features. It is wise to remember that a man is easily misled because he looks only on the outside, while God alone reveals the truth of the condition of the heart. 1 Samuel chapter 16, verse 7. Keep studying the Bible. Only in it will we find the truth that will keep us from being deceived by the tactics of Satan. And that is all of our reading for today. I hope you stuck around for that. And once again, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you for the next video. I love doing these, and I love talking to you guys about them, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.